The explosion shook the entire ship. Captain Zara's claws scraped against the metal floor as she stumbled, her reptilian tail whipping for balance. Red warning lights bathed the bridge in an ominous glow, while alarm sirens wailed through the corridors. "Captain! Pirate ship's closing in fast!" Her navigator shouted over the chaos. But that wasn't the worst part. 7 of her crew members were still down on the planet's surface, including 3 humans. And humans were the one species the Galactic Alliance could never afford to lose. 48 hours earlier, this had been a routine mission. Now it was about to become the most dangerous rescue attempt in space exploration history. Captain Zara paced back and forth on her ship's bridge, her tail hitting the metal floor with each angry step. The battle was over, but the nightmare was just beginning. 7 crew members were now stuck on a dangerous planet, and 3 of them were humans. Humans were new to the Galactic Alliance. They were popular, but needed special care because they were still considered a young species. Zara's ship was only the 3rd Alliance vessel to have human crew members. Losing any of them would end her career and create a huge scandal. The problem started when pirates attacked near the planet. Zara's exploration ship wasn't built for fighting, so they had to escape quickly. In their rush, they left 7 crew members behind on the planet's surface. Now Zara stood before her diverse crew of 27 different alien species. She explained the terrible situation through their universal translators, which could convert any language instantly. "We're already traveling away at half our maximum faster than light speed," she announced. Left single quotation mark. "Stopping now would take 4 months, and I can't risk everyone's lives by going back without military help. We're heading to the nearest Alliance station for repairs and backup." The crew members whose friends were left behind looked worried and scared. Only the telepathic Zex weren't present. They would be overwhelmed by everyone's strong emotions. Stephen, one of the human engineers, broke the tense silence. Left single quotation mark. "Captain, what equipment do the stranded crew have? What's the planet like?" Surprisingly, all the humans seemed to calm down after hearing the answer. The other aliens became even more worried, talking about how the planet's weather and dangerous animals could kill their friends. Then, Stephen stood up, with an inappropriate grin. Left single quotation mark. "Captain, we might have a way to help them." Another human engineer covered his face with his hands. Left single quotation mark. "Are you sure this is a good idea? Remember how the report started. What's your suggestion, Stephen?" Captain Zara demanded. Stephen straightened up and smiled. "The Prometheus Maneuver." Later, in the technical room, Zara watched an old video report in shock. During humanity's early space exploration, a ship called Prometheus accidentally left a crew member behind. Their old faster-than-light drive needed 10 days to slow down and turn around, but the stranded person only had 6 days of oxygen. Their solution was crazy but brilliant. They attached an extra engine to a small shuttle filled with oxygen and supplies. Since the shuttle couldn't reach full speed on its own, they decided to launch it while already at maximum velocity. The shuttle accelerated inside the larger ship, while the crew continuously moved it from the back to the front of the runway, feeding it power. Finally, they warped the shuttle outside the ship while it was at full speed. The video showed small explosions and space-time problems, but it worked. "Can we do it?" Zara asked her head engineer, Hagler. Hagler's alien face couldn't show expressions well, but Zara could tell he was terrified. After a long pause, he answered, "Every part of me says this is reckless and dangerous, but if it was done before, we can do it too." Stephen put a reassuring hand on Hagler's shoulder and grinned. "It'll be fine. Let's get to work." While engineers prepared the ship for the dangerous plan, the science team had to decide what supplies to send. The humans were given twice as much space as other species since it was their idea, but they refused to use it. In the essential category, they put nothing. In important, they only listed a Swiss Army knife. In helpful, They wanted a small computer, a solar battery, and some seeds with fertilizer. This used less than 2% of their allowed space. When Captain Zara asked why they needed so little, they simply said, "We'll be fine. Others need help more." The rest of their space was filled with equipment for the other species. 2 days later, after the nerve-wracking shuttle launch, Zara remembered the humans' concern about the old video report. She watched it again and saw something chilling. The video showed a human engineer trying to smile despite obvious fear. For a moment, Zara saw what other captains had reported, a glint of madness that humans showed before doing something incredible or incredibly stupid. The engineer spoke, "This is TSS Prometheus. Welcome to Jackass." Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, Lieutenant Davis was trying to stop Dr. Campbell and intern Nick from adopting a local animal when he received the emergency signal from their ship. He ran as fast as he could, carrying Algris and unknowingly Zia, who had wrapped herself around him. Despite his best efforts, they arrived too late and could only watch their shuttle take off without them. As they sat among the equipment left behind, Zia, a telepathic alien, tried to control her emotions to help calm the others. The fact that Nick and Lieutenant Davis were relatively calm helped her a little. Lieutenant Davis quickly took charge. "I know everyone understands our situation. Our ship jumped to faster than light speed, so it'll take a long time before we're rescued. But we have a good chance of survival. The shuttle pilot left us as much equipment as possible." He pointed to his scanner. 12 kilometers from here, our scout drone found a cave that should protect us from local predators. If we start moving now, we'll reach it before sunset." Everyone began loading scattered boxes onto floating transport boards, standard equipment that could carry heavy weights while hovering smoothly over the ground. They managed to fit everything on 6 transport boards. Tim Knocker, a 3-meter-tall alien who looked like a mix between a troll and a bear, was strong enough to carry extra equipment if needed, though he was surprisingly slow. When they reached the cave, Lieutenant Davis told everyone to wait outside while he and Zia checked for dangerous animals inside. Zia had lost her translator during their escape, so they communicated through her telepathic abilities. They found 3 paralyzed horse-sized cat-like creatures inside, which they dragged outside. These would be their dinner. Once everyone was safely in the cave, the reality of their situation began to sink in. Algris was the first to voice his fears. "I've seen the briefing on this planet. We'll face tornadoes, earthquakes, monsoon seasons, and hail the size of human fists. We're doomed." Zoe, on whose lap Zio is now resting, tried to stay positive. "We have supplies and power sources. We can prepare ourselves." This only upset Algris more. "Prepare ourselves? It'll be almost 50 degrees Celsius in summer. Neither Hfy nor I can survive that heat." Zoe raised her voice despite Zio's calming presence. "We'll find somewhere cooler, or we'll build it. If we need something, we'll find it or make it. No one is going to die." Algris shot back. "There's not one engineer here. When will you stop pretending to be one? And what about the local predators? Those cats were just small examples." Nick, who had been sitting quietly, spoke up. "Davis has guns and a paralyzer. We also have transport boards. We can figure something out."
"You can't kill a 3-meter predator with a transport board,"
Alvarez yelled. And again with the making. "There are no engineers here. We have a soldier, 2 xenobiologists, a geologist, a microbiologist, a botanist." He pointed to each crew member while listing their jobs, then hesitated when he reached Nick. "Who are you, exactly?" Nick answered, embarrassedly. "An intern." "What's an intern?" Algris asked, genuinely confused. Internships were rare in the Galactic Alliance, since most species specialized early in their education and were ready to work immediately after school. Before Nick could explain, Lieutenant Davis called him from outside the cave. The soldier was standing next to the cat bodies stacked on a transport board. "There's a river nearby. I'll leave these bodies in it to cool down. If nothing steals them, There'll be breakfast tomorrow. He handed Nick a stun gun. If anything approaches, shoot it. Have Zia check if it's intelligent. If not, it's food. He also gave Nick a knife. I'm an intern, not a soldier. Nick protested. Lieutenant Davis smiled. Left single quotation mark. Congratulations. The military part of your internship starts today. While you're on guard, think of some traps for predators to leave at the cave entrance tonight. I'll be back in an hour or two. When Davis returned, he heard cheerful chatting from inside the cave. Everyone was busy cleaning equipment and organizing supplies. But when they noticed him coming, the atmosphere suddenly became tense. Left single quotation mark. What happened to that? He asked, pointing to a 1-meter-high, 4-legged reptile that Zoe was trying to hide behind her back. The animal looked like a dog with an elongated neck. Left single quotation mark. It followed us, Zoe said, hugging the animal protectively. Left single quotation mark. Zia says it's friendly. It thinks we're its parents. Davis looked at Zia, who was wrapped tightly around Algris. She hissed in confirmation. Left single quotation mark. And everyone's okay with that? Davis asked, looking around. The new pet was almost as big as Algris and Zia combined. Zia hissed approvingly, and Algris, who had spent 20 minutes watching Zoe try to teach the animal to bark, nodded reluctantly. Davis sighed. Left single quotation mark. Whatever boosts morale. Nick, did you make the trap? Nick confirmed proudly. I was waiting for you to come back before setting it up. He grabbed some bags and ran to set up his trap at the cave entrance. With some time before sunset, and everyone in better spirits, the crew began chatting and getting to know each other. They had mostly known each other only by sight before this mission. At some point, Algris remembered his earlier question. Mick, what exactly is an intern? Before Nick could answer, Lieutenant Davis interrupted with a grin. It's someone who gets thrown between different jobs, so that Alliance xenobiologists can observe average human performance in various situations. Half the jobs he thinks he's doing on the ship are actually puzzles or tests created by xenobiologists. Nick laughed, thinking it was a joke, until sudden shock showed on his face. He turned to Zia. Is that what those assignments were? You gave me those impossible puzzles to see how I'd react? I was a lab rat all along. Zia hissed but didn't really answer. Everyone burst into laughter, but it ended abruptly when they heard a feline cry followed by what sounded like flesh exploding. When they investigated, they found half a carcass from the same species as the cave cats they'd seen earlier. This one was even bigger, and the other half of its body was splattered on the ceiling and walls of the cave entrance. Lieutenant Davis turned to Nick. What did you do? I booby-trapped the entrance like you asked, Nick replied. With what? A mine? Do we even have those? Mick smiled smugly and pointed to Algris. I'll have you know that I successfully killed a 3-meter predator with a transport board. Shocked, Algris could only ask, what? I turned off the safety features, flipped it over, set the preferred height for unregistered species to 8 meters, and set it to activate on touch. Then I set the default cargo weight to 1 ton. Everyone finally understood. When the big cat stepped on the transport board, it immediately launched the animal with enough force to lift 1 ton, sending it 8 meters up at whatever speed the transport board could manage without safety limits. No wonder it had splattered on the ceiling and walls. Zoe yelled while hugging her pet. What if Dragon had wandered onto it? Lieutenant Davis covered his face with his hands and sighed deeply. Hfy, Tim Knocker, and Algris were all speechless. Zia just hissed in what might have been amusement. Despite the gruesome accident, they all realized something important. Even without proper engineers, human creativity and alien knowledge could work together to solve problems in unexpected ways. They might just survive this strange planet after all.